On October 6, 1974, John Lennon sits down for an interview with Howard Cosell. They're at Howard's studio in Manhattan. Now, John is there primarily to promote his album Walls and Bridges, something that he's been doing for a while now, all over the country. Now, if you're not familiar with Howard Cosell, Howard was like this celebrity sports guy, sports announcer in the 70s that would always be on TV. He was very entertaining, could sometimes be a little bit combative, but he really was good at his job. He knew what he was doing. And here he is with John Lennon, and the interview lasts, I think it's a little under a half an hour. And Howard asks him the regular questions like, what's going on with your immigration status? Are the Beatles ever getting back together again? And then near the end of the interview, Howard asks him, what's next for you and your music? What are you going to do next?
I think my greatest pleasure is writing a song, words and lyrics, that will last longer than a couple of years. And if I get one out of 20 or 30 songs that anybody could sing, from Frank Sinatra to Tiny Tim, then that's my greatest feeling, is to do a piece of work like that. And that happens rarely.
And when I heard that, I go, absolutely, John accomplished that. But I wanted to look up the numbers. And so I go to this website, secondhandsongs.com, and I don't know how accurate these numbers are. So I'm just going to say these are approximate times these songs have been covered. But the number one song, on the list is Imagine. And it's been covered approximately, 671 times by various artists. Artists like Ray Charles, Chet Atkins, Neil Young, Diana Ross, Madonna, Willie Nelson, Jerry and the Pacemakers, and Sarah Vaughan. And I think it's been covered more than that. I really do. I think it's like 800 times or so. I'm not sure. But the number two song on the list is Happy Christmas, War is Over. Now that's a John and Yoko song. And it's been covered about 400 times by artists like Maroon 5, Neil Diamond, Carly Simon, Alicia Keys. And when I was researching this, I was looking at which artists covered it when. And, for the first 30 years after its release, it had a good amount of coverage, but not as many as after 2000. After 2000, it just went whoop up like that. It was really interesting. So the song just keeps on getting more and more popular as time goes by. And I just read in Forbes that it recently cracked the top 10. So John, you got one here, buddy. And then the number three song is Jealous Guy, and it's been covered approximately 170 times by artists like Joe Cocker, Belinda Carlisle, and Amy Mann. The number four song is Woman, and it's been covered about 89 times. I think it's been covered more than that, I'm sorry, by artists including Ozzy Osbourne, Sakura, and Engelbert Humperdinck. And the number five song is Love, and I love that song. That's one of my favorite John songs, been covered at least 88 times, maybe, I shouldn't say at least, approximately 88 times. I don't know, probably more than that, by artists like Barbra Streisand, Kenny Loggins, Shirley Bassey, and Beck. The number six song is Working Class Hero. It's been covered approximately 83 times by artists, including artists like Green Day, Marianne Faithfull, and Cyndi Lauper. Number seven on the list is Instant Karma. It's been covered approximately 68 times by artists like Nelly Furtado and Dave Stewart. They did it live, and also including John Hyatt and U2. The number eight song on the list is Mother, and it's been covered approximately 52 times, including by David Bowie, who did it in 2021, and Christina Aguilera and Maynard Ferguson. I really like Christina Aguilera's version of it. She does it really well. And number nine is Just Like Starting Over. It's been covered approximately 52 times by artists like Jerry Marsden, Tom Jones, and Kat Edmondson. Number 10 is Watching the Wheels. That's a great song. It's been covered approximately 44 times by artists like Chatham County Line. That's a country group. There's a country artist, and when I looked online, I wanted to see which artist covered this. There's several country artists who covered this song, and also Chris Cornell. And you've got Beautiful Boy on here. It's been covered approximately 40 times by artists like Mickey Dolenz and Celine Dion. So again, it goes on and on like that, and there's a lot of them. And I also looked up how many times each of the Beatles songs were covered. Now, I don't want to go in depth here because I'm just talking about John, but oh my gosh, so many times these songs have been covered. Like And I Love Her, 616 times. Like Here Comes the Sun, over 500. Like approximate. These are approximate numbers because I'm not 100% sure. And then Yesterday. It says on this site like 1,281 times, but I thought it was covered like over 2,000 times. I could be wrong. I don't know. But let it be approximately 657 times. And when I looked at each of the Beatles songs, it's just like in the hundreds, at least 100 times, like 200 times, 300 times. And by all these obscure songs, like Honey Pie, 101 times it's been covered. And then even more obscure songs like, Mean Mr. Mustard, it was covered approximately 30 times. You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, was covered approximately 4 times. Wild Honey Pie, 12 times. Dig It, 5 times. And even Ringo's Taking a Trip to Carolina, that song we saw him do on Get Back, somebody covered it. Good for you, Ringo. So what makes all these John songs, and these Beatles songs so timeless? Well, let's just stick to the John songs because John actually answers that question for us. And he answers it through David Bowie. David Bowie gave this interview where he's talking about John's songwriting because he'd been working with John, and he says that John gave him some tips.
I never forget something that John Lennon told me. We were talking about writing, and I would always admire the way he used to cut through so much of the bullshit, just come straight to the point with what he wanted to say. And he said it's very easy. All you have to do is say what you mean, make it rhyme, put a backbeat to it. Right. And that I keep coming back to that principle.
But David goes on to observe that what John would do, John could take a subject and boil it all down into this message, this very clear message that could connect with all kinds of people. And based on this list here of these John songs that, are to appear to be timeless, they're mainly messages, about love and dealing with pain and heartache, and hope.
Songs that'll outlive me, probably. And that gives me my greatest pleasure, and therefore the musical style doesn't matter. The basic thing is still the song itself. And that's where I get my kicks.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really and truly appreciate it. And until next time, peace and love one another. Take care. And happy Christmas.
Beatles is Beatles are Beatle. In the end, it's like, oh, sod off with the Beatles,